Hello, everyone. Well, it is Monday, March the 27th, 2017. It is day 24 of TowerGate. And here's what's happening today. Well, as we know, today there was supposed to be a closed session with James Comey and Clapper. They were supposed to do a closed session with the the House Intelligence Committee, with Nunes and all his buddies. Well, at this point, we have not heard that that meeting was canceled, so we can assume it did happen. But there's nothing being reported at this point as to confirm the meeting did take place or what may have happened in the meeting. So we can assume that the meeting did happen because it's not being reported it was canceled. But we're learning nothing about whether or not anything did occur. If the meeting did occur, so it's nothing being reported yet. So we're kind of hanging there. As I said yesterday, the attack on Nunes would begin today. It actually began probably before that, but certainly you could see on the Sunday morning programs, you could see the talking points. And so we know what the talking points are going to be, and it's going to be to destroy the credibility of Nunes, because they can't destroy the credibility of his evidence, which they question once they see it, which I'm sure they will, these logs. They will not be able to question the evidence, and they know that. They know he's not making this up. So they'll have to attack him. They'll attack the messenger. And so that'll continue. It will not do any good, but they can continue doing it. All they're doing is feeding their base in the left-wing media. It's not really registering with anyone else, and in the long run, it will fall away. So that's kind of how that's looking. Now, there is another story that's been popping up over the last couple of days, and that is a story, but it's only really being covered on the left-wing media, so I don't know what to make of it. But and again, this could be just more disinformation to create more controversy, more chaos, more agitation, which is probably what it's all about. But there's now some leaks about a story that Michael Flynn has cooperated with the FBI and is, I don't know, giving them some information. So I'm not really sure what that would be or what he would have to, why he would need to cooperate with anything. He's not a part of the government now. He's working for a private corporation, making boatloads of money, a lot more than he would have made in his position as the national security advisor. Whether or not he would come forward or why he would want to do that or do any damage to Trump, I would have no idea. I don't think the story is true. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the FBI interviewed him, but as far as the story is wants to lead us to believe that Flynn went to the FBI with some secret information that was damaging to Trump. This is how it's being played. Again, I think it's disinformation. I don't think there's anything to it, and I wouldn't expect anything will come of it. It's just, I guess they got to have something to feed the news cycle and to keep their liberal minions occupied, keep their minds occupied or something. I don't know. But anyway, that's a story that's kind of out there. Nothing really new breaking really on this other than we just continue to get more and more of the same types of leaks. They come from the left and they come from the right, and talks of leaks and talks of people talking and all this sort of stuff. I think this is just what happens is when you get a story like this, it's almost like a feeding frenzy, like when you throw a half-eaten fish into the shark-infested waters. There's a feeding frenzy by the sharks, and things just get really erratic, and everybody is trying to get a piece of the story, and everybody's trying to control and manipulate the story. On the left, they want to stay on the Trump is part of a Russian conspiracy. That's the left. On the right, they want to continue the Obama White House spied or surveilled on Trump or people around Trump. So it's really, we have the left and right-wing media trying to advance their messages, and we're kind of all caught in between it. So I guess probably depending on where you sit politically and what you want to believe is what you probably will believe. Obviously, when it all shakes itself out, it's going to come down to the evidence. What is the evidence for Russian collusion with Trump? What is the evidence for surveillance on the part of the Obama administration? At some point, the details are going to shake themselves out, so long as the facts are presented. Whether or not there's a real effort to get to the facts or get down into this rabbit hole, like I said, we'll have to wait and see how this all turns out. I still think at the end of the day, there's going to end up being a special prosecutor appointed, and even then it will still be political. So I don't know. We just have to let these things play out. And as I've said many times before, remember, Watergate took 2.5 years to unravel. So I think that this is going to be with us for quite some time. We are seeing, these things play out. So we'll continue to watch it every day. So I've also noticed, kind of on a slightly unrelated topic, a lot of people, particularly there's a lot of liberals who were Bernie Sanders supporters, who are opposed to the Democratic establishment. They probably hate the Democratic Party right now more than Republicans do, and they're probably the loudest voices right now who are out there accusing the Democrats of playing this Russian collusion strategy, which they think is a disastrous failure. They want to see the Democrats focus on the policies and not these conspiracies. So you're getting a lot of that out of the left-wing media, and a lot of people asking the question, why are the Democrats pursuing this line of questioning? Why are they pursuing this Russia conspiracy theory? And I think the answer to that is pretty simple, really. I think it's political, and it has to do with the party and what the party needs to do to try to reestablish themselves after the defeats they've been suffering really in the past 3 to 4 election cycles. And I think it boils down really to money, because you have to remember that the Democrats, they need to raise a lot of money to win elections, because they rely on a lot of grassroots get the vote out type things. They need to get their people out there. They almost have to take their people to the polls to vote, buy them some lunch at McDonald's, do something to get their people out. It requires a lot more money to execute than what the Republicans need to do for the way that things work in their party. So what happened is the Democrats went out and raised $1.2 billion from all those donors. Donald Trump spent half that and defeated Hillary Clinton. And that doesn't look good. So what you have to remember is that the Democrats are thinking, 2018, 2020, and they're thinking about the number one thing that they do, and the number one thing that most parties and politicians do, is raise money. So they got a big problem. How are the Democrats supposed to go to their big donors and say, yeah, we need money. Money is how we're going to win, and when you give us that money, we'll take care of you. So now you have all these people, Democratic donors, who coughed out $1.2 billion expecting to get their business taken care of, but unfortunately that's not going to happen for them because they lost. So now they pumped $1.2 billion and they have nothing to show for it. They might as well flush that money down the toilet. So the Democrats face a big fundraising issue. So what they have to do is they have to try to explain how it was possible that they outraised the Republican Donald Trump 2-1, spent more than double the amount of money he spent, and they still lost. It's kind of hard to go ask for money from people after the previous 4 years earlier they gave you a ton of money, and even though they gave you the money and you raised 2-1 against your opponent, you still lost. And they have nothing to show for it. It's going to be kind of hard to get that money out of them, to squeeze that money out of them the next time around, because they might just look back at you when you come to shake them down for some more cash. They might just look back at you and go, wait a minute, we gave you a ton of money in the last election. You had twice as much money as your opponent, yet you lost. Maybe the problem isn't money. Maybe you need to be working on some other things. So this will make these donors think twice about it, and they may decide when they open up their checkbook to only give half as much as they gave last time, or less than that, or maybe nothing at all. So I think that the reason that they're writing this Russian conspiracy, and they're hoping they can write it throughout the next 2 to 4 years, really has everything to do just with their fundraising. They need to be able to go to their donors, and when their donors say, yeah, we gave you all this money and you still lost, even though you had doubled the amount of money your opponent did, they need to be able to look at their opponent and go, or look at their donor and go, yeah, but what happened is they cheated. The Russians got involved, and the Russians helped shift the race or give the victory to Donald Trump. We got we got hammered by the Russians. It was a Russian conspiracy, and they compromised the election. So we lost because the Russians intervened in the elections, and they favored Trump and they took us out or whatever. So this is the only excuse that the Democrats have that they can make up as to why they were able to have twice as much money and still lose. They have to have some explanation, and they can't tell the real truth, which is that they nominated a really, really bad candidate. And the reason that they can't use that excuse that they nominated a really bad candidate is because that really bad candidate, Hildebeest, is going to be the Democratic nominee again in 2020. It's going to be a Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton rematch. And we can pretty well be assured of that because we can see Hillary's back out in the game. We can see that the Clintons haven't gone away. We can see that Tom Perez was made head of the DNC. Tom Perez is totally in the tank for Hillary. And he's her puppet. So Tom Perez will be pushing Hillary. He'll be rigging the Democratic elections in favor of Hillary again in 4 years, just like they did the last time. And that's how this thing's going to go. So it's going to be hard for Democratic donors to go to their or Democratic apparats to go to the big donors and say, yeah, give us all that money again so we can run this campaign again. And then these big donors might say, well, who's going to be your candidate? And if they have to say, yeah, well, we're going to run Hillary again. Hillary Trump Part 2. At that point, these donors are probably going to go, man, I don't think Hillary can beat Trump. She couldn't beat him last time. She had twice as much money. So they have to have something that they can use as an excuse for why they lost, other than just, accepting the fact that they had a very bad candidate and they're going to repeat the same process and have the very same bad candidate again in 2020. I think the only thing that keeps Hillary from running in 2020 is maybe she has some serious health issue which prevents her from being able to do it. I do think that she'll be challenged a lot harder than she was last time. And you know what? Even with all the backing of the DNC and everything else, she still may not be able to win the Democratic nomination next time. The Democratic base just may not be there for her like it was the last time. So we'll have to see how this plays out. But the Clintons are gangsters. The DNC is a gangster group of people. And if they want to take people out in the Democratic primary, they certainly can. They have their super delegate system set up so they can pretty much determine who the nominee is going to be. It's nearly impossible to beat that system. So I think that this is really all that the Russian thing is all about. First, it started, I think, as a Clinton operation to do damage to Donald Trump during the election, but once he won, then I think it shifted into the White House, and it became an operation now to discredit Trump and try to frustrate him from being able to do anything, to keep him under constant pressure about these so-called Russian allegations. They want investigations. They want to keep it in the media. They want to keep all this stuff going. So it's a multi-pronged sword here, with several different operations, all part of the same operation, to stay on this Russia narrative and ride it as long as they can. How long they can get away with it and keep writing it, I don't know. I don't think they can write it for 2 to 4 years. But that's what they feel they need to do in order to be able to go back and raise money. And that's what this is all about for them at this point, because the election's over. I really just think that that's all this is about. So anyway, day 24, March 27, 2017, drip, drip, drip. We'll continue to stay on it. By the way, I appreciate everyone subscribing to my channel, sharing, and thumbs up and likes. And like I said yesterday, there is an all-out war on YouTubers like myself. The best thing that we can do to help one another is, like I said, when you're watching videos, I know I do this a lot. Sometimes I watch a video, I like it, but I really don't reach over and give it a thumbs up or share it or put it on my Facebook or Twitter. But it really is important to start doing that. You do have to be signed in, and you do have to have a YouTube account to do that. But it is important, if you think about it, just to click the like button, maybe make a comment. That helps. Maybe share it on your Facebook if you want, or something like that. Because this has to do with a lot, has to do with money and revenue and these types of things, and there's no question that Google and YouTube are working to use algorithms and things like that to make sure that videos like mine, especially mine because I don't do advertising, but even those who do advertising, to do everything they can to drive us down so that we don't pop up in people's search boxes. So the only way to really get people like me out there is really to share that stuff yourself or give thumbs up or whatever and try to advance the cause that way. It's a battle. I mean, it's a war. It's a media war right now, and we're right in the center of it. So that's where I started making videos. So anyway, just keep that in mind. I appreciate all your support. Y'all have a good day, and we'll be back tomorrow unless something breaks tonight. But other than that, I'll be back tomorrow, and I think we should get at least a statement from Nunes or someone tomorrow about the closed hearings and if anything was learned in those closed hearings and how it's going to proceed forward with the open hearings and who we may hear from next. Okay, y'all have a good day. Bye.